Warning. Listening to this show may result in increased levels of inspiration, motivation, and innovation. Side effects can include the immediate urge to take massive action to build a better business and life for yourself and others. You've been warned. Welcome to Influencers Radio with your host, Jack Mize.
And welcome back to Influencers Radio. Today my guest is a lady that I was just really impressed when I first met her, and to listen to what she does and what her background is and the talent that she has for what she does. And what really impressed me more and made me really consider her an influencer is that with her talent and her abilities, it's not something that she is using to get people to hire her to do. She actually shows people how to do it themselves. And what I'm talking about is finding that unique voice, that conversation for businesses, everything from local businesses to national businesses, to be able to really communicate their unique perspective, their unique service, their unique value without thinking that they have to go out and hire professionals to do this. And so today's guest is Marjorie Saulson. She has been a professional voice actor for several years. And we talk about when voiceovers, you hear her commercials, you hear radio spots, TV spots where you hear that voice in the background, and she does that, and she does it beautifully. And what she does is she helps, like I said, businesses and organizations that are struggling with marketing to discover that unique business voice. And what this does is it allows them to be able to attract not just new customers, but get their current customers to come back over and create raving fans. So they tell their friends and family and even strangers about this. It's really about creating loyal clients. And like I said, rather than saying to hire her to do this, she shows people how to do this for their own business. So, Marjorie Saulson, welcome to Influencers Radio.
Thank you, Jack. I appreciate your having me here today.
Well, I appreciate you being here today. And, I want to dive right in with, you help businesses, even to local businesses that, a lot of people don't think of as big, marketing or media stars. And they often think that, wait a minute, I can't do this myself. That's why I need to hire professionals to do this. I don't have the right voice to do this. I'm not, a professional speaker or communicator. It's just something that is not in me. But you say that is really a myth, that people can do this, and that's exactly what you show them how to do.
That's right, Jack. The thing is that many people are struggling with how to talk about their business. And the first part, of course, is kind of getting clear on what their message needs to be, and that's one thing that I help people with before we even deal with how they're going to say it. You need to know what you're going to say first. But it really is a myth that people are natural-born public presenters, natural-born networkers. These are all skills that can be learned. And so my goal is to help people to get really comfortable, to become effective messengers of their own message. Because a lot of business is really done locally. People ask, so what do you do? And are you going to hem and haw or bore them to death or turn them off? That's really where a lot of business is done, just in conversation. And so I want people to be comfortable with that. And also, if they need to make a presentation, a lot of people are scared to death of public speaking. Jerry Seinfeld once said that people would rather be in the coffin than giving the eulogy.
That's very true. Very true. And one of the things that you really hit on as we're talking is a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that, well, I'm going to hire someone to do this all for me, just kind of completely turn it over to someone. But the fact is, even if you hire professionally trained marketers that really understand marketing advertising, the fact is you have to have some understanding of what it is, of what your message is. because they're not going to start with a blank slate. They're going to need to get something out of you. And one of the things you do is help businesses to narrow that down to at least, get that conversation or what that message is that they're trying to communicate, so that the marketing dollars that they do spend are very targeted. So how does that happen? What is the big mistake that business owners are making when they just say, I'm not going to mess with this, I'm going to turn it over to a professional?
Well, the big mistake people make is thinking that the professional will understand what they're doing better than they. Any professional who's worth his or her salt is going to have to do a lot of research into what you're doing, whom you serve, what problems do you solve, who are the best people to target. And if you already understand that, number one, if you can't afford a marketer, and you need to do some stuff yourself, whatever you do is going to be a lot more effective. And it's the basis, actually, of being an effective communicator when you're talking to people. You need to know what problems you solve, whom do you help, what's the benefits or what's the major benefit or several benefits that people get from the problems that you solve. How are you helping people? And you need to be clear on that. And the reality is not every marketer that you hire, even once you have a budget for that, will be a good marketer. So you need to know enough that you don't get taken by somebody who's some fly-by-night who's going to spend all your money on advertising that doesn't work. I call it throwing money down the guesswork marketing drain.
Well, I think that's far more common than it probably should be, and it's probably a story that a lot of people can tell. And the fact that you help people avoid that, I think, is another one of those reasons I consider you an influencer in being able to not just share this, but also to help people discover this voice. So let's talk a little bit about some of the obstacles that people have. So let's say we have a local business owner that's listening and thinking, what, maybe this is something I can do. But the fact is, you mentioned it before, I'm scared to death of speaking. I'm scared to death of, being the center of attention, even if it's on recording or if it's in person. How do you get around that?
Okay. Well, actually, I have a blog post on that on my website, 3 tips for overcoming your fear of public speaking. And that's at vibrantvocalpower.com. But let me give you my very favorite tip. See, when you have to do a public speech of some sort, a lot of people start running horror movies in their minds. They see all kinds of things happening. I mean, they trip on their way up, they forgot their notes, their glasses got broken, a lightning bolt came out of the roof and hit them on the head. I mean, any possible horror story. And so they build up this tremendous fear. And so my suggestion is when you start running horror stories, turn off that video. Turn it off and start envisioning you being much more successful. You have a prepared remarks, you know what you're going to say, and you have your notes in order, and you have numbered the pages so that if, God forbid, you drop them, you can easily put them back in order. And you go up there and you give your talk in an effective way. And if you happen to make a mistake, which is going to happen, we don't live in a messianic era. I mean, people make mistakes. Then you kind of have a prepared way of handling it. You say, oops, wait a minute, that's not what I meant. Let me try again. You have a prepared something and you go on. And keep in mind that if you make a mistake, you actually get 2 tremendous benefits from it that you never thought of. Number one is if you can recover with some degree of grace, and people admire that, and they relate to you much more. Your message becomes much more effective. And the other thing you got to keep in mind is that, most people are really scared to death of public speaking. And they're also grateful that you're up there instead of them, that they really admire you for having the courage to do it and for recovering when you have made a mistake.
And that's where I think where people think that they have to have this perfection down, that mistakes are things that just completely, you can wipe out any effectiveness with one mistake, but you're actually saying that may even ingratiate you to an audience, or you have a chance to turn that around and make something positive about it. One thing that I see people do is if they're not comfortable, if they don't feel that they're able to talk or communicate, they try to emulate someone else. And then, they're not being themselves and they're not using their message. They're trying to deliver someone else's message in someone else's voice. Do you see, that happen? And how do you kind of knock someone out of that from trying to emulate and speak in their own voice?
Well, we talk a lot about authenticity, because the way you reach people is not by pretending to be Winston Churchill or, some great orator. The way you reach people is through your humanity and who you are as a person. And so it's really important to understand that who you are is good enough. And who you are and the reality of you is actually the person who's going to be the most effective, not some version of some other somebody. People relate to people on a very personal, visceral level, and people pick up right away. I mean, all of you have had the experience. You pick up when somebody's a fake. And so the reality is that being a fake gets you nowhere. Abraham Lincoln once said, you can fool some of the people all of the time and all of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all of the time. If you want to be successful, you need to be you. Be real.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the most important messages that you deliver, and to help people realize that they are the best option. To just accept that their voice can be used to communicate their message, not just effectively, but probably more effectively than if they tried to go off and emulate or imitate someone else. So let's talk about, there's the fear of speaking. And when people think about that, they generally think of, getting on stage or getting in a room full of people. But, obviously one of the most successful strategies that I've seen entrepreneurs use and business owners use is in networking. They build some incredibly profitable relationships through networking. And it's one of the things that so many people don't really know how to do with purpose. They kind of wing it, right? They don't really understand or know of any networking protocol. And oftentimes they, even though it's one-on-one, they still do, I guess, what I call a resume dump on people that they meet, that they feel that they need to, as quickly as possible, make people feel that they are experts at what they do. And one of the things that you're really good at is helping people to be much better in networking situations or one-on-one situations, and do that with purpose, so that one, they don't come across as that pushy salesperson or trying to, what people I guess often think of as that insurance salesperson. Nothing against the insurance agency, but it's just a stereotype people have. But how to network with effectiveness while still being someone that people don't want to turn away from to talk to, like there is some type of protocol. What do you see some of the biggest mistakes people making when they do try to dive into the networking pool?
Well, the first thing is the mindset that you go into networking with. And the mindset that sets you up absolutely for failure is thinking that you're going into a networking situation or even a social situation when somebody asks you, what do you do? You're going in there to make a sale. You're not. You're there to build relationships. Networking is all about building relationships. That's the first thing. And by the way, that creates you as a much more relaxed person. Because the minute you go into sales mode, people, they stiffen up, they get nervous, and the whole tonal quality of their voice changes. Whereas if you're just there to make some friends, some new friends, and build some relationships, it's a whole different mindset. It's a whole different emotional aura around you. sales is, pushy sales it turns people off. Friendly relationship building is very attractive. That's the first thing. Now, the practical part of that is when somebody asks you, what do? You never start the sentence out with, I am. I am this big mucky muck, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, please. You come across as a big egotist, and you feel that way, and it's uncomfortable. Start out the sentence instead, I help. And the basic thing is you're going to say, I help certain people with a particular problem, with this particular solution, so that they can get this benefit. And that's those four things you just focus on. You get them very clear in your mind so that you can say it in a relaxed way, that you're not memorizing a canned sentence. There's a lot of talk about elevator speeches. If you get in the elevator at the first floor and by the 10th floor, if somebody asks, what do? Can you tell them? And people memorize the speech, which covers basically the first three things I mentioned, not the fourth. And they come across, even though they're saying I help, they come across, as canned, as pushy. Whereas if you can just say, I help, for instance, well, let me give you an example, Jack, if I may. Okay, so Jack, ask me, what do you do?
All right, Marjorie, what do you do?
Oh, thanks for asking, Jack. Basically, I help people who are struggling with marketing and who feel like they don't know what to do, to get really clear on what their marketing principles need to be, what they need to do, and to basically discover and harness their unique business voice so that they can develop more sales, more customers, raving fans, and basically more income.
And that right there, nothing you said was, I am this, certified with this and this background and won these awards or anything. You focus directly on the people that you help. And I guess the result of that is multi. I mean, there's got to be multi-levels of benefits from doing it that way.
Yeah, and there's a PhD question, by the way, at the end. After you finish that, do you happen to know anybody who might need that kind of help?
So you have a little kind of a stealth call to action there.
Basically, what you're doing is you're not putting the person on the spot saying, do you need my help? Will you give me your business? You're not doing that. You're asking, do they happen to know somebody? You're asking basically for a referral, which is a much more comfortable question for people to hear. And they may not know somebody, but they may. And they may come right back to, I need that kind of help. Forget somebody else. I need that help, which is wonderful. But even if they don't, basically you have planted a seed for them to think about, and they may run across somebody who's having problems with I met this person at the da-da-da, and you really ought to go and talk to her or him, whatever. That's the way you do networking, in a way that builds relationships. And you look at building your business through networking as a long game. It's not instant America, as a friend of mine likes to say. And in America, we're used to wanting things now. I want what I want when I want it right now. And networking is not that. It's building relationships over time to help support building your business.
Yeah, and I think that's why people that are good at it do build some of their most profitable relationships through that. That do last for a very long time. And so that brings me to I want to make sure that I bring up and am clear on the fact that when we talk about how you help people, develop and represent their unique business voice in their marketing, we're not just talking about, an audio or voiceover type, commercials or things like that. It's about expressing their voice even in written form, written copy and audios as well, but videos to be used on their website. And like we talked about, live presentations or networking conversations, that they can apply this into all different forms of communication. And I think that's important because a lot of people they turn into a different person when they go to do this. They try to get too formal or more formal than they usually are, or they don't, they don't stay their authentic selves like we talked about. And you're able to kind of corral that and keep it to where it's still in their voice, but it's done with purpose, specifically with the purpose of building their business and getting more customers. And that doesn't require what we talked about, that natural born speaker or professional actor type of a voice. What are some of the things that people think, a couple of the myths that people think that they have to do this effectively that really may, be a hindrance or impede their success, like trying to, get rid of dialect or their cadence or change all that?
Yeah, the thing is that people are attracted to the reality of other people. And the other thing I didn't mention, by the way, about being nervous about public speaking is that everyone is nervous before giving a speech. The most seriously trained actors in the world, presenters, all have a certain amount of energy floating around in their bodies, some nervous energy. The question is, how do you use that? Do you use that to add energy and life and vibrance to your presentation? Or do you let it kind of, interpret it as fear? If you interpret it as the energy that's going to help you go out there and really be effective, that's the way that you take advantage of the nervous energy you feel going into any situation. And the fact of the matter is that anything that you're going to do, Jack, that's new, that's outside of your comfort zone, that's going to take some courage. And some nervous energy is going to come up. But the important thing is to keep visualizing that you can do it, and done is better than perfect. I just made some videos yesterday, and Jack, when you see these, you're going to laugh because I'm not a techie, and I never made videos myself with my own laptop. I've always had other professionals do it, and right at the end of every video, you can see me turning my eyes to the side so I can see where to turn off the video. And I realized after I'd done that I've got to just keep looking at the camera, let the pause go on, and then turn it off, and then edit out, that little last piece. But I'm going to use those videos because other than that, they're really good, and that's me, and I'm real, and I'm not perfect. And I never will be.
Well, yeah, I think that's the thing is, people that wait for perfection wait a really long time.
They get nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, that's a very good lesson that when you do this, it's not about being perfection. It's about being yourself and letting people see who you are. And that's what builds fans. That's what builds loyalty, obviously. Marjorie Saulson, how can people find out more about you and what you're doing and learn more about how to develop this this voice that is going to be able to build their business?
Well, basically, I invite all of your listeners, Jack, to go to my website. It's vibrantvocalpower.com. That's vibrantvocalpower.com. And on my website, there's some good things that people can take advantage of. First of all, I invite everybody to sign up to receive my free report. I have a free report on 5 ways to magnetize your message using the power of voice. And once you sign up for that gets you on my email distribution list. And once a week, I send out a blog post basically with some information either about marketing or speaking or networking, anything that I feel will help people improve their businesses. And if you look back through my old blog posts, you'll find that one on 3 tips for overcoming your fear of public speaking, as well as a couple of others on and a wonderful one that I love called A Mistake in the Right Direction. It's about somebody who made a huge boo-boo on public television after a huge sports event, and turned out to be a huge success. So that's what my husband calls a mistake in the right direction, and that's what I entitled that blog post. So people can go to vibrantvocalpower.com, and I periodically roll out one of my signature programs. My signature program actually is Magnetize Your Message Method, and basically I share the basics of marketing that you really need to know to develop an effective message. And then we also talk about how to use that message in various platforms, including becoming personally an effective messenger for your own message. So that's where people can go, vibrantvocalpower.com.
Well, fantastic. And I definitely would encourage people to do that and sign up and get Marjorie's content. It's really powerful stuff. But also, I spent quite a while on your website after we spoke, because it just, there's a great example of some of your work and also examples of different types of marketing that people can do that I, completely, didn't even cross my mind in the methods that we are so used to hearing voices and communications that you just don't notice. So it's a great place to visit, just to learn a lot of different things. So I highly encourage that. And I also got to tell you that you walk the walk, because when we met, there was nothing about you that you did the I help. You talked about the people you help and not about yourself. And I have to say that you just really let off a very warm and comfortable feeling, and you seem genuinely happy to meet just about anyone that was in the room. And I think, I got to see in person, you demonstrate exactly what you teach people when doing networking, and it is highly effective and doesn't come across as that pushy or that dropping your resume at all. So it really is incredible. And I want to thank you for sharing this information on Influencers Radio today.
Well, it's been my pleasure to be here, Jack. I really appreciate your inviting me.
Well, it's been my pleasure entirely. So there you have it, folks. Marjorie Saulson, check it out. vibrantvocalpower.com. We'll have a link on the show post page. But until next time on Influencers Radio, remember, you are the only real game changer.
You've been listening to Influencers Radio. To get all past shows and updates on future shows, visit influencersradio.com today or follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/influencersradio.